Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Thursday to you. It's June 27th, I believe. Maybe 28th. Oh, shoot. I think it's the 27th. Let's go with that. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's definitely the 27th, definitely. Yeah, hope you're having a happy Thursday indeed. And tomorrow's Friday. So, I mean, for most of America, even if you have to work, that's something to look forward to. Friday. It's just a certain type of energy on Friday. Friday and Saturday, maybe also Sunday for some, but Friday is like the buildup of knowing of maybe the possibility of something fun happening or new or alternative to the normal everyday. And then Saturday, for the most part, of course, people work on Saturdays as well, but even for me, when I worked on Saturdays, it's still a different vibration on Saturday than it is, say, through the middle of the week. It's just something about that day, I tell you. For me, anyway. But in any regard, let's see. Well, really, in any regard, I hope every day is a good day for you. And personally, I would love for every day to feel like a Saturday at best. So, without further ado, oh, judgment. Okay. All right. Judgment card here. Interesting. Interesting. All right. I think this is, what is that? I think it's Scorpio energy or Pluto, which would be one and the same. I'm pretty sure that it's attached to Scorpio or Pluto, one of the two. Yeah, but this is some finality or an awakening, a second chance. Could be a final decision. Determination of some sorts, a resurrection, something getting new life, new rebirth, regeneration, maybe even ascension, perhaps. Let's see what we got under here. That's a strong way to start, isn't it? Whoa, with the World card? Oh, wow. Whoa. The World, and then Judgment, and then the Six of Swords. Yeah, certainly a new beginning is in order. I mean, it don't... Wow. Somebody's moving into a new, you may be moving into a new season of your life, having closed the last quite successfully is what the World card suggests, in the best frequency, which is upright. It's kind of hard to really not take that at its highest for the most part. I mean, the Judgment, I would say that judgment is reserved subjectively, because we're all, oh, and that's Saturn too. And I still didn't look up what I was supposed to see about Saturn this weekend. I think it is. There's something shifting with Saturn. Either it's going retro or it's going forward. And I really still forgot. I was kind of out and about all day today, and I forgot to do my due diligence to find out what that was. But It's definitely 3D respective, but the Judgment card is kind of like the divine and the natural, the spiritual and the natural world. Oh, what is this? This is like, it's giving rapture energy, the way, like, see how she's like floating in the middle of the air? So that's why I'm saying it's subjective to whomever the judgment pertains to, because for everyone, we've wrapped up a season, a cycle, culminated some life expression and experience that is now turning over into some altogether new something altogether new now with the World card. I guess for some, that could be a positive shift, something to really look forward to or to be excited about. I feel a bit of indifference here, like it could be either one, so you take that as it resonates. Yeah, like here's a celebration here. And the Six of Swords is one of those cards that does feel like a bit mysterious, where it's like you're crossing over from one experience and heading into the next, but it's a bit of a gray territory over there from where they're headed from, which is very colorful. So it's like it could be, it just really depends on the energy that you're carrying with you. Here it is, into that new territory, into that new space, into that new season, that new beginning, that new you. Maybe you could be getting a new job. You could be physically moving to a new place. I feel like it's more spiritual though, especially starting with the Judgment. It's something about advancing and like creation advancing respectively, again, to whatever they've closed out previously. It's like now you get to find out, it's like the mystery door, on the other side of whatever this portal that the World card is inflecting here. It's like now you're finding out what's behind that mystery door, or behind that portal threshold, something you've been working toward, and how you've concentrated your energy in the past season is what is ultimately created this experience ahead of you. That's already, it's like everybody's having to move forward in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just in the matter of it being a new season. Summertime started off with a bang and it came in hot. You know what I mean? Literally came in boiling for most of the nation. And I feel like there's definitely some spiritual, there's some spiritual foreshadowing on that energy, that we're all sharing this, plane, so we're all affected by the universal ordinance and insistence to evolve in one way, shape, or form. It's like the world is not necessarily catching up with us. We are moving forward no matter what, so how it is that you may have prepared yourself for this journey, for this transition, or to be transported in whatever way that looks like, is the matter of experience that you may be about to embark on, or you may be about to inhabit. Wow, Strength card. King of Wands, yes, the territory. Oh my goodness. The two, oh, yes, come through. We got the King of Pentacles under here and the Wheel of Fortune. Well, I'll be. Some people got something real nice to look forward to. My goodness. Well, that's just that on that. I just can't even not put these cards down right now. And there's really not even much to say about it, because it's not often that I can get through so many cards and it's just like literally fortune after fortune after fortune with the Wheel of Fortune, yet another ending and beginning card, and something. This is, like I said, it's like destiny fated. It's evolution. It's divine timing, divine order. It's like something that is happening. It's not a matter of if or even when at this point, because I feel like it's already in progress. It's a matter of how you're being transported. How are you engaging this new world experience that you ultimately have created for yourself ahead of yourself, whether you believe that or not? By how you were activated and how you actualized your energy last season. Damn. So it's like it's already prepared for you. It feels like a surprise type of energy, because like I was saying with the Six of Swords, it's really gray over there. Like you can't really see. There is nothing much to see. There's literally no color. There's nothing too distinct other than trees and earth, like land, but there's nothing distinct that you can see at the distance of which they are traveling in the card itself. But the premise of that card is moving from more turbulent times to peaceful and calmer waters. So whatever that is, it's going to bring a lot of joy and celebration. It's going to be empowering. It's going to be, it is, let me not say it's going to be, it is affirming of your creative authority. I feel like there's something more than authority there. And it, you know, it also speaks, like I said, to the fact that with the King and the Queen of Wands both looking at each other on one accord with the Ten of Cups, it speaks again to that creative, the projection that your creativity has ultimately activated. Like this is maybe who you arrived to be. So in the matter of, in the spiritual essence of the becoming or the unveiling or whatever this transition is, like I said, it could be a matter of a personal realization, even if it's not traveling anywhere or actually physically moving anywhere, but there may be some point of affirmation or or I wouldn't say revelation at this point. It's something like something actualized and like a stamp of, I'm having a hard time saying this. That's how I know it's got to be something good. You know, almost, what's the word when you are like appointed, or I'm hearing coronation. That's what I'm hearing, but I was trying to find a way to like say it in a more practical way. I mean, by God, we have the King and the Queen of Wands here for sure, but there's some crowning energy that's happening here that is going to make you smile. Let's just say that with the Ten of Cups here. And in this space, this wherever this divine destination may be, it's creative partnership. Even if this isn't a couple, it's like being in a creative synergy, not just one to one or one to another. It's also like a familial, collective, the collective creative consciousness. Okay, thank you. The advancement is the coronation of the collective creative consciousness. That's what it is, with new abilities, advanced passions here with the King and Queen of Wands and the Strength card for sure. Support, I just heard moral support, but certainly I would say even emotional support and or spiritual support, which sometimes is all you can really ask for, especially when you're trying to bring something to light or into fruition, you know, into the 3D that may be of a spiritual essence, you know, maybe an idea, a vision, like I said, a passion, your purpose, all of that. The collective creative consciousness is overall being upgraded and ascended. That means what once was perhaps the ceiling may now be the ground floor for creation overall. But still that comes with the perspective subjectively, because how you would have cultivated your placement in this coronation of sorts is dependent upon what you consider to be a ceiling and or floor in the first place. You know, it's like those that are being appointed, or it's not appointed, what is the word? Confirmed, that's the word I'm looking for, like to be confirmed into your position of power, whatever that may be, uniquely to you. You would have had to, in the past season, have, like I said, cultivated that identity of yourself even before it was affirmed. Whereas there appeared to be very much so a ceiling and a limitation, and you still worked in such a way that as if there wasn't, you know, or you were persistent and diligent in your actualization of self, of your own power and creativity, to work in a way where, like, maybe you didn't have all the resources, you didn't have all the answers, you may not have had a lot of support or any at all, you may not have had much understanding for what you were doing or how you were doing it, you may not have had much of a point of reference, you certainly didn't necessarily have you know, an affirmation like from approval from the outside in, but yet you still, it's like you were playing this position of the King and Queen of Wands respectively, even before you were appointed and anointed. And now you may be put in a position to actually see not only the value of the identity that you cultivated well before you had the I guess approval, or I don't even know how to put this, like before the judgment was made on who you absolutely are, you operated in that identity anyway. And so everything now is just kind of like formality or par for the course of who you've already activated yourself to be. But like I said, it helps to affirm your position that much more solidly, because now of the crystallization of the reality that matches that identity. That being the response to your creativity in the 3D form. So that could look like things that you've been working on for a while, now finally materializing, manifesting in a way that almost proves to you how powerful and creative you actually are, because now you have the physical evidence to affirm that right, if that makes sense. Before you had the ideal, you didn't, in many ways, you may have had limited evidence or minimal evidence, just enough to keep you focused, to keep going, and then some not at all, you know, which is even more phenomenal. And now it's like you have every shred of evidence to further enhance your confidence, not just to keep doing what you've been doing, but now, like I said, to now take it to advance it even greater, to the point where, like I said, the ceiling is the floor. And in the case of those that are operating in a frequency such as this, there is no more ceiling. To some others, the floor, meaning the new beginning, the relative perspective of all of this is that depending on who you were in the season past will determine whether or not you feel the lack of limitations that we are all privy to, more or less, in this season, but only respective to the it's like we're all privy to this feeling of limitlessness in this season, but some in the past season, where we still were privy to it, didn't necessarily operate in that frequency of sovereignty well, you know, with wise choice and productive energy. So it's like that energy is carrying over for some as limitation, even where limitation really still doesn't exist for anyone. So this is what I'm saying about we're collectively all still sharing the same space, but our perspective of that varies based on how we're transported into this reality. So, I mean, it actually, quite physically, especially with Saturn being karma, the limitation could be a matter of the debts that have carried over from mismanaged energy in the past, perhaps forging the feeling of limitation, even though that is even surmountable within the right courage and the right strength, with the right tenacity, you know, with the proper tenacity. It's just a matter of, it's just the difference between those that now have to live in this new existence, carrying over. It's the difference between this little boat here and you just leaving with really nothing but the clothes on your back because you left a lot of the baggage back in the old season. Thank you for this analogy, because I feel like I'm struggling here. Versus those that didn't release, let's say, karmic debt, trauma, toxicity, you know, a lot of the densities of the growing pains of humanity that you may or may not have been charged to leave behind in the season past, because we're all on, you know, we're all growing at different rates here. But say in the case that you were, and that was a part of your divine assignment in this human experience, was to leave some things behind before you make that journey over. It's the difference between somebody that's, again, leaving with not much, you know, maybe a book bag or a purse or whatever, maybe just what you got on your person, to someone that's leaving and transporting in this little boat with everything that they owned from the place before. They ain't released no karma, no toxic relationships, toxic mindsets. They haven't healed any trauma. They incurred, you know, a great deal more of debt on account of what they refused to release. So there's actually extra baggage. Like, imagine when you go out of town and you do some shopping, you pick up some more stuff, and you got to get a whole nother suitcase to fit the stuff, and now you got to pay for that bag too. Want to, you know, to check on the plane and so forth. I think you feel me. Like, there's a transition happening. We're all doing it together because the world is turning, no matter what, no matter where you are and who you are. But how light you get to travel through that portal and to that next destination is relative or subjective, whichever one is the proper term. To the spiritual experience you submitted yourself to before takeoff. Yeah, or before, I don't know what happens when you're on the boat. Like, I don't know. The bon voyage. Wow. That's interesting. Wow. And look. Oh my goodness. Well, there that is. Look at the difference here. And yeah, some people still trying to go back and figure out how they can change their ticket or release some stuff because they realize it costs too much to carry all this baggage. You know, like, you know how it is when you get to the gate and you try to like lighten your load a little bit because you don't want to pay extra for the pounds of your bag. Maybe that's just me, but that's the energy I'm getting here. Like somebody trying to like rush back and release something real quick. Matter of fact, let's see what they're rushing back to. Yeah, to like maybe even trying to retrieve some offer or pick up where they left an offer. And look at the Queen of Swords like, no you don't. Sending you right back to where you came from. No, you're gonna make this journey one way or another. Wow. Interesting. I know that I probably said a whole lot and it probably felt like I ain't say nothing at all, but hopefully you felt something here when I finally got to it. Especially with this Wheel of Fortune here in the middle. That's just like the clincher. And here's the despair, you know, between, it's really like a wide range of spectrum here between the Five of Pentacles to the King in this case. Despair, insecurity, lack, poverty, whether it be in spirit or in truth, to prosperity of the same. Wide range, but in between, what is it? But fated course of events overall. It's like nobody's really getting left behind. Everybody's moving forward, but how so and where to is the question. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I'm feeling like something's happening. And what's the Wheel of Fortune? Well, oh, Jupiter. Yeah, so that's like expanding. Jupiter right now, I think, is in Gemini. So that's like expanding the experience even that much more, like magnifying it even that much more than what it would be under normal circumstances, because these aren't normal circumstances. We're living in times that are quite unique to have ever been experienced before. It's literally like the turn of an age that's happening right now. Like many of the ages, the turning of an age that, and I'm talking about big turn, not like, oh, the 60s from the 80s type of thing. This is like monumental change of life experience, change of everything you've ever known, life as you've known it and lived it. We're talking about the Judgment card here. This is setting a whole new course of life into order and into action, whether it's like ready or not, here it comes. And I was going to say, it's like the type of changes that we observe in history, you know, where we look at old dynasties and even prehistoric times to medieval times. And, you know, perhaps with Wheel of Fortune, we could be talking about even more otherworldly type of ideals, as in like the Atlantis, you know, or the Anunnaki and things like that, like those, the Mayans, you know, I'm talking about like pivotal points of creative change in the world. It's like we have learned about these things, at least, you know, as much as we have had the liberty to, or have had the privilege of knowledge of, or as much as we've been privy to a knowledge of, but we're actually living in this one. We're living in the shift that is going to be talked about 100 years beyond here, providing you know, consciousness as it is exists in a way that would be remembering, you know, remember it. But I think so, because I mean, if we really think about it, more or less, we still remember all of those ancient ideas. There's always a way for history to be preserved in some way, shape, and form, even if it's a little bit dissected or diluted. And maybe that in itself is something new age that we may, because I was saying I think I said something about enlightenment or being advanced in some way, shape, or form. And it may be part of that, like to actually have the privilege of confirmation of creation far before us, of which our knowledge has been spotty, you know, or has been distorted and altered in some ways, to now have to be caught up with all the knowledge of the past. And now maybe even that is the stamp of the age of shifting, this great age of shift now that, yeah, especially, and I just said it, that Jupiter is in Gemini. That is information and truth. That's what we're coming into. The saving knowledge of everything that's been speculated, maybe even contemplated of the past, being somehow flushed into the creative consciousness, because I said something about that too, being the thing that's being impacted most, into the creative consciousness, meaning it's available, and here is the subjectivity as I was speaking of it. Whereas what is released as truth may or may not be received according to the baggage that you're carrying. Thank you, Spirit, from where we came from, and when we didn't know as much, when we weren't as privy to the truth, or the truth in its rawest form, Scorpio energy, as we are now or about to be. And then what you do with that knowledge is what separates the wheat from the chaff, because if you can't even allow your mind, the Six of Swords is about mindset, and that's really the transition of a way of thinking, a way, even information itself, who you know yourself to be and what you know of your surroundings to be true. Like I was saying, what changes that destination is you and what you're bringing to it. And for those that are willing to pack light and be teachable and impressionable in all the right ways, to have their mind and spirit enhanced and enlightened to the truth in this transformative way that is being divulged, there is the higher frequency of value here and prosperity, because those are the ones that won't be as limited to activate that truth and actualize it into this new order of life experience, as opposed to those that are carrying too much of what they can't let go of from what the past was, what they thought was true, what they were told was true, what they experienced as truth, what they even knew to be true in the time, that they have no room to engage. You know, taking all of that baggage over into a new space where you're supposed to be open for something new, you won't have the space to really manage it well, because you'll be too fixated on what you feel should be carried over, when what is of the past, at least much of it at this point, was good for what it was, but may not be transferable or transportable to where we're all headed. And I love the universe for this. It's going to be interesting to see how it truly plays out, but it will be distinct. I think you'll be able to see, as the scripture says, like, you'll know them by their fruits, right? The difference between the Five of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles here. Prosperity, incarnate though, like materialized, not just the ideal, as I said, anymore. It's like what you're now actualizing as the reality of your inner self. So those that have worked with less, but still had really had the edge to still do the most with the least, you'll see how that identity is transmutable. Well, really how it is expressed and exposed, or I should say revealed, by how things begin to materialize in the space and time where everything that you've put your mind and spirit and energy to is now able to crystallize without resistance, because you're not as bogged down and weighed down by the limitations of the past and how things should be or shouldn't, to allow things to crystallize without your mind actually blocking it for you, or the lower frequency of your passion, that being perverted passion, of which much of it was perverted by projection more than anything, would have ultimately hindered from happening in the past world. You still persevered even with those limitations, and now it's like I said, it's like everything's catching up in the space and time that we're in now. But here again, it's all a matter of how you're able to perceive this new appointment of energy. It's like somebody handing you over the wand, the keys, the power, the authority to make matter out of spirit. And some it may be harder for some to accept than others, on account of even what liberties they feel entitled to do so. So this is like not even just limited to materializing, but it is focused on that for sure, because that's going to be the evidence. That's going to be the, the sign, and ultimately the wonder as to how people are evolving, especially in the climate that we're in globally right now, where the projection and the expectation would be of despair. The difference is some people are not going to be having that experience at all. And it'll be a wonder as to how. Why aren't you afraid? Why aren't you struggling? Why aren't you sad or depressed or, whatever, lonely? It's going to be probably a range of experiences, but some very distinct ones as well. And it all comes back down to the Six of Swords, of what people are crossing over with from that past season. How heavy that baggage is. Hell, some people may not even make it through the passageway on account of what they refuse to let go of, but some are just going to make it harder for themselves to get through and to, experience paradise as it was designed for them to do so, until they let some things go. Damn. Oh, man. I don't feel like I'm saying this like I'm supposed to be saying it. Let me just do one more row. Six of Pentacles. Yep, that's the community effect, equal give and take, like I said, but it's also the have and the have-nots as it is depicted in the picture, in the card. And now here's the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, it's like, so interesting. The disparity is the difference between codependency. In this case, it could be community, but in the way that I'm speaking of it, codependency and independence here. And not just, and this is like independence in the feminine sense where there is reproduction. So it's not just a matter of having to go seek prosperity or you know, this is a matter of being able, yeah, look at that with the 10 of Wands. It's a matter of being able to regenerate it over and over again. Not always having to find new measures of wealth and prosperity or resource, but being able to cultivate your own from what you have. That's even different than the community needed to more or less depend on each other in order to survive. Interesting. Something big is happening. Or for one or the other, like for, yeah, with the Moon card, wow. Having to depend on the other, or also being a resource of someone else, of someone else's profitability as well, is what I'm feeling with this Six of Pentacles, where you're working for someone else's agenda. And I don't mean work in the sense of employment per se, but where your energy is contributing to someone else's well-being, almost to your own detriment. That's the difference between that and the Queen of Pentacles, who is, you know, her own boss, more or less. As is the King of Pentacles as well. Or definitely highly resourceful in her own right. What's this Moon card about? Justice. Some type of mystery behind this. It's like I want to say like a phenomenon, but it's not. It's just universal order, and it's fair and it's upright, and oh, okay, so it's under judgment as well. So it's like it's rebalancing the obscurity of creation in whatever way it's necessary to do that. The purpose of it all is to put creation back into balance in a way that satisfies universal order, not the balance that we may perceive is right or righteous, but what satisfies universal wellness. So that's why it could seem quite mysterious. You know, things might occur. Like I said before, it's like it'll kind of be a wonder, like astounding as to how some are experiencing the same force field that we all share one way, and some are experiencing another, but it's all justified in the way, in like the equalizing of the earth plane. And you may, from the outside looking in, be perplexed as to why someone's having one experience and you may be having another. But this is the will of the divine. Because it's like, even those, how I see it, it's like, as I gave the analogy about people taking over too much baggage, it's like, even those that may have that experience in the transition between life as we knew it and life as we get to experience it, whatever that is. I'm clear to say that the lack of limitation still is the truth, no matter what the perception may be. And so the justice here is that those that decide to carry so much over from where they came from, in whatever way, shape, and form that looks like, emotionally, spiritually, physically, psychologically, whatever, the experience that they will create, here it is, Queen and King of Wands, create for themselves in that new territory, will ultimately be the equalizer and like the teacher, you know, the teachable moment, so to speak, because it'll ultimately recondition those, if they're open to it, of course, if they're submissive to it and not stubborn, which would be the adverse of the Strength card. If they're open to the reconditioning, perhaps on account of the experience, which some people, you know, are just prone to learn by experience, i.e. the hard way, than they are otherwise. It will still be working in favor of creating balance and order for those that submit to it as such, or they'll ultimately, you know, more or less kind of eliminate themselves with the insistence on living a certain way in a space that's not conducive for it anymore. So ultimately what I'm trying to say is that people will either submit to the shift or surrender to their own demise. You know, that's what it comes down to. So even in the ways where you may look around and it seems imbalanced, it seems unfair, it's like everybody's getting the proper measure of truth that is relative to how they're being urged to transform. So even, you know, simple is like when you do take that trip and you overpack and then you get to the gate, and now because you had to bring everything but the kitchen sink, you're kind of mad because you're paying double for it. The next time you travel, most likely, unless you care to pay for extra baggage, you will be reconditioned to be more conscious and careful about what you're taking, more purposeful, thank you, Spirit, about what you're taking, so that you don't get charged more than what's because the thing is, it's like, imagine you take all that stuff and it is the case where you don't even wear half of it, right? The next time you'll be smarter and wiser to say, you know what, maybe I could just carry on. Or maybe I could just take a smaller suitcase or do a carry-on and check one bag as opposed to overpacking one and still paying for the price of two, you know, type of thing. Which, by the way, I'm kind of a bit of a novice at packing purposefully. That's kind of my thing. You know, one day I'll talk to you about that real soon. But yeah, not a novice, go figure. I'm not a novice at all. I'm kind of an expert is what I really mean to say. But yeah, so it's like that. It's like you're gonna learn, or maybe you don't learn, and the next time you feel like you still got to take everything but the kitchen sink, and there you go, still paying the price again. So it really just depends, literally, between the Five of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles, what experience you're creating for yourself at your own will. Because what's true, Strength card, is that it is at your own will at this point. It was in the last season to get to this place here, and it is even so now. It's just that there's even more of a pronunciation of that that authority and that even autonomy, I should say, or your access to it, you asserting yourself in it or accepting it is a whole nother story. That's the difference between those that carry on and those that carry too much. Or overpack, I should say. Who was that? That was interesting. Look, Temperance card, and I'm going to take it too. Because you want to be out here. I feel you. Like I said, this is the justice of the divine. It's the balance of the universe. That everybody have more or less a fair enough opportunity to catch up with evolution if in fact you may have, if you may find yourself a little bit behind the curve, just a little bit, or for some more so than a little bit, but yeah, but being fair, you know what I mean? 7 of Wands. And some may choose to still stand their ground. Like I said, to be stubborn, to refuse to shift with the time, to refuse to see the signs of the time and the age that we're in. Some actually can't. That's the other thing. It's like, no shade, but not everybody has the eye to see what we're experiencing in the moment. Hell, I'm sure in each age, in each great age, it still was the same. You know, I think we may get to be privy, as I said, to the truth of the unveiling of truth of all of those ages, so that we may actually be advanced beyond, you know, ahead of the learning curve, as opposed to those that were living in a less enlightened, well, some, not every age was this, but some were living in a less enlightened. But I guess in some ways all were to some extent, because they had to have been, you know, because there ultimately was a rise and fall and a demise of those civilizations, and in every account. So maybe we're being privy to the knowledge and wisdom that would help us to actually preserve, as I was saying earlier, if we're still here to reflect, you know, in this way, that would help us to preserve this, I don't know what to call it. I don't even know what a word is for it. Because just as much of it is, just as much as it is new, it still is old too, you know, or prevalent too. So it's not like we're all turning into robots, but there's a transition, and that transition that's happening now. Here it is, that if we continue to keep the old world mentality as we're transitioning into new, maybe we could be at a detriment to being like all the others, where they were here at one time and not anymore, where they are a memory and they are an artifact and a historical reflection. Maybe we have the opportunity to shift that again, to preserve our lives, you know, our existence in a way that can make the transition and sustain it, perhaps even eternally in some way, shape, or form. You know, that maybe this is the transition that, you know, of humanity that gets to be preserved, because there's something that we get right in that transition itself. That's interesting. Just get 2 more and I'm out of here, because I know y'all probably got a headache with me today. Like, girl, what is you talking about? The King of Cups. Oh, the Ace of Swords, and it kind of popped out and then fell on my leg upside down, but I'm taking it upright because ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. We know we on to something here today. We not even receiving that projection. No way, no how. Something is shifting and changing. And anyway, I'll definitely take that as a confirmation of much of what I just said as well, that I can't quite say clearly, apparently, but or at least clearly enough for my satisfaction. Because I feel like I can feel this more than I'm doing it justice in my articulation, which is the plight of a Sagittarius, particularly with their Mercury in Sag as well. So bear with me. I know that my upgrade is definitely happening by way of communication and the clarity of my transition. So if you just hang in there a little bit, I think you'll hear me communicate perhaps some really sophisticated and even higher minded concepts in a way that won't make you want to shoot yourself. That might actually make a whole lot of sense to you. So hang in there, I promise, it's coming. But the Ace of Swords, again, verifying, confirming what I just said about the preservation of this new race or this ascended creative consciousness that we're all cultivating collectively, individually and collectively. It's something about the drastic shift and evolution that is occurring that is not only quite pivotal from where we've been, you know, even saving us from ourselves and the trajectory we may have been on. It is, I feel like it's something about projecting humanity even beyond what there may have even, I don't know why I feel this, but there may have even been an expectation to achieve. Maybe we would have been on the trajectory that we've been on, and just by historical reflection, expected to kind of like sabotage or destroy ourselves by now, or that would be the expectation. But there's enough spiritual energy in this world now to hold space for the evolution that gets to take place in order for creativity and creation overall to be preserved. And that's where it comes back to this Queen and King of Wands. There's something very important about that frequency of energy with the wands, the passion to express your energetic force with responsibility, and even with temperance itself, in balance, you know, but also innovatively at the same time. You know, it's like a real hard line to toe when you're sitting in those energies, because you can, you know, easily overexert yourself or overexert your power, do too much. You could easily do too little as well with less confidence. So it's something about, like I said, how folks have been conditioned or allowed themselves to be trained in the previous season, that is translating beautifully to this point where, as I've said before, spiritual essence can be inhabited in the earth because it has something to connect with, something to conduct through. if not for the presence of energy such as this, alive, willing and able and alive and well in the earth, there would be more or less the expectation that we would all perish on account of how we ultimately have destroyed ourselves and destroyed one another. But wait, there's more. Not on God's watch this time. Something's changed, something shifted. And it's like, it's in universal order, but like I said, with this moon card, something about it also feels mysterious and mystical as well. Like, it could have gone either way. Like, it definitely could have gone left if not for the advancement of humanity itself. That's so interesting. Dang, and so we had the King of Cups and now the Queen of Cups, and the advancement of spirituality. The advancement and ascension of the spirit. We had the King of Cups and we had the Queen of Cups. That's what's been the conduit of this new order of creation. An advancement of love, an advancement of spiritual awareness, of spiritual submission, awareness of spiritual identity, even beyond the material, you know. The passion for that was the ignition, and then the like, I guess, realization of it. So it's like you pursued it before you, like I said, before you had the evidence, before you had the support, the encouragement, the even knew you had the authority, because everything else would tell you that you didn't. But that's what I'm saying. It was that persistence and that tenacity, you know, that courage, that boldness, that I'm going to capture this territory, i.e. my spiritual self, at all costs. Not in a bad way, though. And being insistent about getting to that nature of self, which is not, in the purest form of it as well, which is not easy to do. That's what has changed everything. The insistence on self-love and self-actualization of that love through the expression of pure passion, unapologetically, even amidst great resistance. That's what it is. If not for that, we would all be doomed. And that's the beauty of it, because it's like, even those, like, we're all going, nobody, like I keep saying, like, nobody's getting left behind, but those that have held space is like almost keeping the door open for us all. And now it's like, once we all get there, it's just a matter of, okay, now this may be your lot, this might be your lot. You still are privy to that full expression of creativity that was already promised to you before the corruption of creation. You just get to work through it, perhaps, you know, folks get to work through it at varying levels of difficulty, which, depending on your perception, really ain't a bad deal, you know, because it says that it's still possible, it's still available, all hope is not lost. You just got to get to it, you know? You just got to get to it and release some stuff. On this next leg of the journey, whatever that gets to be, like I said, next time you travel, here's a new beginning, heading into what? Truth. Truth and clarity. Yeah, we're about to really be knowing something that ain't never been known before. And some will reject it. Some will push back on it. They'll resist it because it won't make sense to the naked eye, to the human spirit that's been conditioned to believe otherwise. But I'm telling you, something astounding is fitting to be revealed, where it just turns everything you ever thought about life completely on its head. Like, what? No, that can't be real. That can't be right. It's no way. And it's going to be a projection for all, whatever it is, it's going to be projected for all to receive as their own truth at their own will. And that's why it's so poignant as to how folks are crossing over and what they're carrying, because it'll be something clear and plain as day, but some will engage it and literally just like, you know, completely accept it and fall in line with it and then allow it to empower them. And some will reject that to the end of the earth, literally, as sure as the fool is walking off the edge, because they just can't bend their mind to believe anything more or less than what they feel comfortable with. So, I mean, eventually all will have to submit to the truth, even with great resistance. It's one of those things that will be undeniable, but your surrender or submission to it is what will make all the difference in the life that you create. That's the thing. It's just, and that's the thing that's going to be hard to watch for some of us that are particularly compassionate and even empathetic, because it's like, damn, like, it's right here. You don't want this? How can you not want this? It's yours. What are you doing? You still choosing to have that? And I don't even know what that is other than it being the truth. But maybe that's just as simple as it gets, the truth. Yeah, and some will just be like, nah, I can't. Some will walk away feeling like, well, okay, there's a difference here. First of all, let's see what's walking away to with the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, it could be a slow burn, because some will walk away with confidence from the things that they've invested in, no matter what, you know, and say, you know what, it's better than what was, so I'm willing to try it out. I'm willing to go and see. And some will be slower to walk away or slower to see the value and leaving behind what they've known, even though it's dissatisfactory. It's unsatisfactory, is that the right word? And unsavory. Some will still feel somehow emotionally connected, or maybe psychologically more so than emotional, with the cups, connected to what they stand to lose in walking away than what they have to gain. But as I said, eventually it may be a slow burn for some over others, but I feel like eventually everyone is really going to have no other choice, because there may be literally nothing left behind anymore to hold on to. I don't know how this is going to play out. I really don't. But I think it's something revelatory here that I'm touching on a bit. But we'll see how things pan out. It may not be and you know what, it also may be even that the evidence of this may be hard to perceive without a certain perspective, you know, at first, where it's like, it's clear as day. It still may be like a gradual, you know, like when something's happening right before your eyes, sometimes, you know, you don't really notice like the subtle, there's like a subtlety about it. I don't know, how can I say this? Like, it's like a subtlety about this change, but it's also a very, I don't know. It's like one of those things that I feel like it may happen in a way, or maybe not. I could be wrong, because the Judgment card is pretty like, and the Wheel of Fortune is a pretty like definitive shift. So I could be wrong about this. Maybe this is a matter of how it may be a slow realization for others. Perhaps there's some that have been poised more or less, even though they didn't necessarily know exactly what they were poised for, but because they cultivated this position of readiness and receptiveness, the shift may be more apparent, and more certainly apparent than it is able to be perceived by those that perhaps may still be, you know, distracted in the transition, because like I said, they're still carrying some things over from where they left behind. So that could be the thing, where it's like, it's happening before all, you know, what's the scripture? I'm not going to say that, because I don't want to project the wrong energy onto this, because it's deeper than even what I was about to say. But let's just say everyone will be witness to whatever this is, but your acceptance of that perception may be varied on a scale weighed by the cultivation of your willingness to accept change in the first place, before it even occurred. Which is why it may create this dynamic of people almost kind of catching up to what already is, you know? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. But let's not forget, though, like I said from the very beginning, that if you feel any synergy, particularly about even how you culminated the last season of your life, whatever that era of life may have been, let's say between the past 10 to 12 years at least, but maybe even beyond that for most, you know, you may have even more of a span of experience to reflect upon, and you feel fairly pleased with who you've become on account of those experiences. You have something great to look forward to. That's really the moral of the story. Anybody that can relate to that statement has absolutely nothing but good things. Ooh. Now you saw I did that by mistake. Nothing but good things to look forward to. I said it, and so it is. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there because this was way too long. Sorry for the slow burn. Again, be patient with me, but I do appreciate you, especially if you're still here at this point, all right? Yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching. Don't forget to take advantage of the Summer Soul Sale. Information down below. One question, $11.11 per question, and you'll receive a thorough answer for sure from me in video form if you're interested. So hit me up in the email below. And yeah, until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.